Right now, 1 seed Duke leads 16 seed Siena 67-63 with 44 seconds left in the second half. Siena led this game by 13 with 17-11 to go. Since then, Duke has been on a 33-16 run. 5 seed Vanderbilt leading 12 seed McNeese 63-57. 6.5 to go second half. 3 seed Michigan State ahead of number 14 seed North Dakota State 30-18 with 6:14 left in the first half. 4 seed Arkansas ahead of 13 seed Hawaii 38-26, 5.5 to play in the first half. Earlier, 12 seed High Point upset 5 seed Wisconsin 83-82. 9 seed TCU knocked off 8 seed Ohio State 66-64. 4 seed Nebraska over 13 seed Troy 76-47. 6 seed Louisville over 11 seed South Florida 83-79. I'm Isaac Lowenkron.
We're not even 5 hours in, and you know what has hit the fan, Aaron Torres? What a day. It's a day we all wait for, and 5 hours in, I wish I never would have woken up. That is how my March Madness is going on the first full day of the NCAA tournament.
I want to hear all about your bracket here in half a second, but let me say this. I think sometimes we overrate things in life, sporting events, life events, whatever. The first day of March Madness always delivers, and it certainly has just 4 finals into this point.
And we will get to those finals in a second. Another game seemingly about to be a final. We'll go to Isaac Lowenkron for that. I do want to let you know your next success can begin sooner than you think. Put your goals within reach at University of Maryland Global Campus, an accredited state university. Undergraduate and most graduate classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Jason Stewart is here for this Thursday of March Madness. Hello, Jason.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
And Iowa Sam is here as well.
Stoked.
All right, let's get to the latest from Isaac Lowenkron. Do we have an update of what's going on between Duke and Siena?
Yes, we do. Number 1 Duke appears to have survived. 10 seconds remaining in the second half, and they're holding on to a 69-65 lead over 16 seed Siena. Siena led this game by 13 points with 7 minutes and 11 seconds left to play. So Duke with possession and a 4-point lead, 10 seconds to go. Hi, by the way.
Hi, Isaac.
Hello, Isaac.
And right now, not a final yet. So
Not
that
a
means
final.
that there are 4 finals in the books.
Yeah, I actually wanted to hear how your bracket is going. So 4 finals in the books.
Yep.
If you don't mind me asking.
Yep.
I know you've ridden and died with this TCU team all year. They obviously took care of business in Game 1 against Ohio State. How did that work out for you?
Well, as a Buckeye fan, there was no way I was going to cheer against or pick against Ohio State. So, of course, I went with Ohio State.
2 seconds left. Thorne's going to put up from half court for the win. No! Off the backboard and harmlessly falls to the court for TCU.
Rough way to start.
Well, here's the good news. Nebraska versus Troy. There's no way you picked against Nebraska going for its first ever NCAA tournament win. No way, Dan Beyer, right?
I thought the pressure was going to get to him, and I thought there was something in the water. My neighbor's name is Troy, so I went with Troy.
Finally, the Nebraska Cornhuskers have won a game in the NCAA tournament. 76-47.
Well, that's unfortunate. The good news is, Louisville, I know they're down. Mikael Brown Jr., lottery pick, but there's no way you went against them, right?
Well, I thought the Brown injury was going to play a part, and I also have scar tissue from Louisville last year. Remember, they were playing in Lexington in an 8-9 matchup against Creighton. There's no way I was trusting the Cards. I went with the Bulls.
3 seconds left. Pinion at half court. From way downtown for the March Madness logo. No good. That's it. Louisville survives. 83-79, the final score.
None of this is a lie. You can go to foxsportsradio.com's bracket challenge and look for yourself. 0 for 3 to start the day.
Well, the good news is High Point, super trendy 5-12 upset. I mean, you had to have that one, right?
But Wisconsin is my alma mater, and they were playing some good basketball heading into the tournament, so I went Wisconsin.
Rhodey is looking. He'll throw the baseball pass into the front court. It is intercepted by Anderson, and the Panthers have reached their highest point. The High Point Panthers stun Wisconsin 83-82, and High Point will move to the second round.
I know no one cares about your bracket.
I
but
care about your
It takes a special idiot to go 0 for 4 in the opening window, and that's exactly what I did. 0 for 4 in the opening window. The upsets that I tried to pick didn't happen. The upsets that did happen, I didn't pick. It truly, you could go there. You could go there and see my perfect bracket in all the wrong ways. Unless we have a final from Greenville. Do we have a final on Duke Siena? Isaac Lowenkron?
It is now burnt Siena officially. 71-65. Duke wins it. Closing on a 37-18
Win
run.
number one.
You
Mark
and
it
the
down.
Duke Blue Devils avoiding infamy. Congratulations.
There it is. That's been the start. That has been the start of my NCAA tournament. Not only did the team I cheered for since I was about 10 years old lose in the first game. You and I did the selection show on Sunday. I even gave a theory, guys, to Aaron. I said, I think because Duke, CBS is going to want to put him in a prime spot Thursday night, primetime TV. People get a look at Duke. And I think Ohio State's probably going to play a late game on Thursday. When the schedule came out, game number 1, like right off the bat.
Saw that.
And I'm like, all right, I guess we're the West Coast, so it starts at 9:15 local time. So the morning breakfast with the Buckeyes didn't turn out like I had hoped. I dressed for a funeral. I just didn't know it was my funeral.
There you go.
For my bracket.
Can I ask a question? So I understand the notion of, it feels like generally the first game of the tournament is like an 8-9 game, with the thought process being, hey, two teams that are pretty evenly matched, so this will be fun and competitive. I really hate it because most of the 8-9 games are full of teams that are inherently flawed, and if we're being perfectly honest, not that interesting to watch. I say that as a Big East guy. Villanova, not fun to watch. They'll play, I believe, tomorrow. The 8-9 game, Clemson, Iowa, a game only your mother could love. Okay, I'm.
Sam.
So sorry, Iowa Sam.
Don't forget about me.
Yeah, well, I thought you were Irish Sam. I was listening to Stu Gatz
Yeah, there you
earlier,
go.
so that was why. So listen, I don't want to start. It's the best day of the year. I don't want to start complaining, but I don't know that Ohio State TCU whets the appetite for all of America. That's all I'm saying.
8-9 games are awful.
Thank you.
They're awful for a couple of reasons. Your point is well stated that these 8-9 teams, there's a lot to be desired about these squads. You can try to put lipstick on a pig if you want. Ohio State played well at the end of the season. TCU played well at some point this season. But really, to your point, there's just not a lot of greatness in 8-9. Here's the other thing, is 8-9 likely comes to an end 2 days later because of the number 1 seed.
Sure.
Now, if Duke and Siena would have been a different outcome, then it's a completely different story. But more likely than not, even a win in an 8-9 game means an ouster from the tournament 2 days later.
It doesn't mean much for like the bigger picture
Correct.
ecosystem.
No
of
one
the
in their
tournament.
bracket has 9 seeds going to the Final Four or winning championships. So you're not seeing guys getting knocked out of pools or brackets being busted because of the 8-9 game as well. And in the survivor pools that we love to play,
Yes.
who wants a coin flip?
That's
Right?
Yep.
Like
Great
that's like
call.
nobody
Great
wants
call.
the coin flip at 8-9. Now there are some survivor pools that end up allowing you to gather points along the way. But maybe you see an upset. Maybe you liked High Point over Wisconsin, and that's where you're going to put your chips. But ultimately, more people are picking anywhere between 3 and 6 seeds in survivor pools in the first day than touching an 8 and 9. So there really is no value whatsoever unless you're a fan of one of those teams.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. I think that, there's circumstantially there are situations like tomorrow 7-10 Kentucky Santa Clara opens the day, and it's kind of Kentucky's one of the bigger brands. It's kind of a pseudo David versus Goliath, even though it's a 7-10. That one I get. Like I said, listen, we're grateful for all the basketball all day long. I'm not going to be that guy that's whining. I'm just saying it just felt like you looked at the schedule and you're like, oh, I got to deal with this for about 40 minutes before the next game tips off. But it all worked out for the best. It actually ended up being a very entertaining game when it was all said.
Well, Wisconsin fans may be whining because they've lost to a 12 seed for the third time since 2019.
Wow.
In losing to High Point today. Wisconsin was a team that we knew was a roller coaster. They could beat anybody. Like if you look at their route maybe to the Sweet 16, they could have given Arizona a run for their money. They just had to get to the Sweet 16, and High Point prevented that today, as we heard in the highlight. But maybe the actual highlight was what happened after the game, something that you absolutely loved from the High Point head coach. What is the High Point head coach?
Flynn Clayman, I believe.
Flynn Clayman spoke with Jared Greenberg after the win in Portland, had this to say.
It looks pretty obvious to me that high majors need to play mid-majors during the season because they said we ain't played nobody. We played somebody now.
How'd you do it?
Feels unreal because I know how good of a team we had, but nobody would play us, just like they wouldn't play Miami, Ohio. But they got to play us in this tournament.
Coach, you were down by 10 early on. What changed?
We just settled in. We settled in. We got a hell of a team. We settled in.
I feel like I need Richard Sherman saying, if you test me with a star receiver like Crabtree. That was the vibe that I got from our guy Flynn Clayman there.
On the heels of what happened last night as well with Miami of Ohio. And by the way, for those that said that Miami of Ohio shouldn't have been in the tournament, it goes back to the argument of, does winning a game prove that you should have been in, or does it have no meaning whatsoever? I just thought the atmosphere that they would bring.
No doubt.
And the anticipation. And then they're fortunate that it was an Ohio school that was close to Dayton, that you could fill that arena. So the arena was electric as well, much more electric than NC State and Texas was the night before. But there was just so much into that. So it's been a great tournament for the teams. And I love how you're doing a TNA wrestling sort of promo as well after the game and supporting what Miami of Ohio did. And right now, listen, my bracket is a joke. I think it's actually funny that I'm sitting here 1-4 through the first 5 games. But for the first 5 hours that we've gotten of today and what we have gotten last night, the tournament's provided everything. And I'll tell you what, winning games like High Point did in Miami of Ohio, I think will actually make the other schools not want to schedule those teams, considering how good these teams have played so far in the tournament.
Listen, I know it's more of a Sunday conversation than a first day of the tournament conversation, but I do think that we have to reevaluate. I think, it's funny. So I just saw right before we came on air, college football is redoing the targeting rule because, there's the controversy about, the carryover, whatever. We need to redo the net in the offseason because I was thinking about this. High Point was coming into today 30-4, had not lost since the middle of January, was nowhere near the bubble. And we don't have to get into all the semantics of the net, but essentially, if you are not a high major school, it's essentially impossible to schedule your way to an at-large bid, and we see it with Miami of Ohio, 31-1 and one of the last 4 teams in. So, again, I don't know if it's the perfect conversation for today, but we got to reevaluate this thing because if a team like High Point with 30 wins wasn't even in consideration, but we had the 19-13 SMU team, the 18-14 Texas team, a couple of teams that were right on the cusp, Auburn with 16 losses, whatever. We got to reevaluate it. I know we want to celebrate the upset, but I also think it speaks to something bigger picture as well.
High Point was a team people pointed to as well with their style of play, and Wisconsin had shown that they can beat the big dogs, but they've also had trouble sometimes playing to the level of their opponent, and High Point ended up getting them today, Jason Stewart.
I'll tell you what, I have no idea who Flynn Clayman was until about 3 minutes ago, but we need to revisit that sound because Aaron Torres says that it reminded him of Richard Sherman, but it kind of struck a different sound for me.
Feels unreal. Because I know how good of a team we had, but nobody would play us.
Professional wrestling fan.
By the way, professional wrestling fans, the action continues every week. TNA Thursday Night Impact every week. Don't miss the adrenaline, the drama, and the total nonstop action as you watch your favorite TNA wrestling stars. For showtimes and more information, visit TNAWrestling.com. It sounded like a TNA wrestling shoot. Didn't it? Like it does.
Great.
Feels unreal because I know how good of a team we had, but nobody would play
California
us.
and Texas and New York.
us in
We
this
go to
tournament.
South Dakota and Oregon and Washington
Down by
and
10
Michigan.
early on. What
And then we're
changed?
going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
We settled in. We got a hell of a team. We settled in.
So good.
Jared Greenberg, why am I kicking this chair that's making all this noise? Jared Greenberg asks a question, and Flynn doesn't even answer
Yeah, that was
the
the
question.
best part of it.
How'd you get it done?
It feels good. Feels good. Feels good. Feels good. So
We're
good.
going to California and
They wouldn't play Miami, Ohio, but they got to play us in this
South
tournament.
Dakota and Oregon and Washington.
There is someone else that's on the tip of my tongue that also, it's not Richard Sherman and it's not Howard Dean. Anybody on the YouTube that can, it's someone right there that I can't remember, but great Howard Dean pull. Great job. Hopefully they fare better than Howard Dean did after that rant. Great job. It completely fell apart. Again, this is just the first part of the craziest 2 days of the NCAA tournament, and we've got a High Point win. Duke on the ropes for most of the afternoon today against Siena, which it was not a guarantee. Now, if you have Duke going far in your bracket, you're wondering, what was this, a one-off? Is this a Duke just not ready, or is Duke this vulnerable because of the injuries that they have?
You and I were on the selection show, and this is what we talked about is, guys like us that do this for a living, everybody wants, who's your Final Four? Like they want our national champion before the bracket's even out, and it's like, this is why it is hard. This is why, whether you're filling out a bracket, whether you're making bets, whether you're in a survivor pool, whether you're watching for fun, it felt like this year more than any other, there was major questions coming into the week as far as who was going to be available, who was not. We referenced earlier, Mikal Brown Jr., likely lottery pick, was out for Louisville. And I think this Duke two starters thing, Patrick Gongba, who's their starting center, we expect him to be back at some point in this tournament. Caleb Foster, the point guard, maybe not. I don't think that, to me, we could go whichever direction you want. They can't win the national championship. I think if they don't get both back, if they don't get one back, I think the road is too tough ahead for them, specifically probably the Sweet 16. I think TCU can get, if Siena can give them trouble, there's no reason TCU can on Saturday.
I'll make this point about the Louisville-South Florida game today. South Florida was down by 22 at one point, 22, 23 points, came back, made it a 4-point game. People love that South Florida covered. South Florida went 5 of 33 from three-point range. Louisville went 13 of 25.
Yep.
So, you talk about in what's a 4-point game, 5 of 33 is awful. So you just think a couple of those go down for South Florida, and maybe it's a different story. Maybe game plays out differently. But, and that's just, we're 5 games in to the first round on the heels of what happened in the first 4 in Dayton last night. Oh, my goodness. And Hawaii just banked in a half-court shot at halftime, but they're down 15. Maybe it's not half-court, but it was top of the key 3 at the buzzer. It's just a matter, did he get that shot off or not? Either way, it's going to be a 15-point lead for Arkansas, or maybe a little less if they end up counting it. Michigan State's up 20 at the half against North Dakota State. Vanderbilt and McNeese was a game for a while, but it looks like the Commodores starting to pull away in that one. 70-60 in favor of Vanderbilt with about a minute to go. He is Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. Jason Stewart is here. Iowa Sam. Isaac Lowenkron. If you have any first day thoughts, ideas, shoot them to us. Live streaming right now on YouTube. You can also tweet Aaron at Aaron_Torres. You can find me at Dan Beyer on Fox. Coming up next here on Fox Sports Radio, as we are in for Covino and Rich, there's nothing better than a great nickname in sports, except when you try to give it to yourself. Mm-hmm. He's Aaron, I'm Dan, and for CNR, that's next on Fox Sports Radio. Every sports season is built on preparation, studying the trends and making the necessary adjustments to reach the ultimate goal.
Investing deserves the same approach. With Webull, you have access to real-time market data, advanced tools, and an intuitive app designed to help you make informed decisions.
Whether you're actively trading stocks, options, ETFs, and more, or planning for the long term for you and your family with IRAs, cash management, and custodial accounts for children, Webull gives you the tools to invest your way, all in one platform.
Looking to take your preparation to the next level? Check out Webull's Learn resources and join their in-app community feed to discuss investing trends and happenings alongside 25 million users globally.
And now to help streamline your trading activities and elevate your strategy, try Vega, Weeble's personal market AI assistant that can give real-time analysis, watch list insights, and alerts when earnings drop.
So get your financial portfolio game ready by downloading the Weeble app today or visiting Weeble.com.
Webull Financial, LLC, member SIPC FINRA. Investing involves risk. For more information, visit Webull.com/disclosures.
Judge last night, 0 for 4, struck out 3 times, ultimately hit .222 in the World Baseball Classic. But you don't see it as an absolute failure, even though the moment was there last night. And Bryce Harper rose to the moment in Miami. Aaron Judge failed to do so, but you don't think that it's an ultimate failure on Judge's part.
I guess I'm not being as harsh about it as everyone else is for a couple of reasons. I think Aaron Judge is looked at only as a hitter. And he doesn't get the credit that he should for what he does on the field. And so when you look at him and he's only striking out, you're like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. But it's like he does more than that. And very, very disappointing. Batting .222, I think that's exactly what he batted in the World Series against the Dodgers, .222. So it's like in the biggest stages, he's fallen a little flat.
Jason Stewart, have you given Aaron Judge a fair shake in all of this? Because I feel like you're on the opposite side of things when looking at Aaron Judge's performance for Team USA in this World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, I think he choked. I think he choked in this WBC. Do you remember back in October, Dan, when you, me, and Doug Gottlieb were talking about the signature postseason moment that Aaron Judge had when he hit that 3-run homer in the ALDS Game 3.
Yes.
That's his signature moment. People will be remembering about this for years.
Was it like the 5th inning, too?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't it? Yeah.
Doug was like, that's his signature moment. And me and you were like, I hope not. If that's his signature moment, that says a lot about his failures on the biggest stage.
You want to know why I have a difficult time putting it on Aaron Judge? Because I think that we could take the numbers, we could take what he said. The reason I have a hard time doing it is because he was there.
That's a great point.
So like he showed up, he played, and it feels a little Chris Rock bit like, what do you want, a cookie for doing what you're supposed to do?
Right.
But they didn't have to do this. Like we just mentioned, Tarek Skubal didn't necessarily have to do this. Not every player had to do this, and I feel in a way, and I'm sorry to do this. I'm going to bring the NBA into this, but we don't take all-star game appearances into equations when we talk about who's the best player in the NBA, right? Because we don't care about the all-star game. I'm not saying that this is the all-star game. We don't do it for Major League Baseball either. We kind of do it for the Olympics. I think it's one of the things that saved Carmelo Anthony's career with it in how we're looking at this. But imagine competing in something that you didn't have to compete in and then having it be used against you. And that's where I think Aaron Judge is in a spot, and it's why I'm not holding it against him for having this performance, because he didn't have to show up at all. I'm talking about baseball on St. Patrick's Day, middle of March, in an event that is not even 20 years old. And that's the part that I don't think is necessarily fair to Aaron Judge in this scenario, because he easily could have bypassed it. He is the face of USA Baseball. There is responsibility with that. But he didn't have to play. And he didn't perform, so now we're going to use it against him. Well, geez, if I'm a great player, why would I want to suit up then if it's only going to be used against me unless I hit a 2-run home run or a 3-run home run or a solo home run to give my team a lead in the championship game? Like there weren't a lot of positives that Aaron Judge could gain from this sort of performance, and it's why I kind of side with you, Monty, just because I don't want to put that burden on Aaron Judge for doing something that he didn't have to do in the first place.
Professional wrestling fans, the action continues every week. TNA Thursday Night Impact every week. Don't miss the adrenaline, the drama, and the total nonstop action as you watch your favorite TNA wrestling stars. For showtimes and more information, visit TNAWrestling.com.
He's Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. It's Covino and Rich here on Fox Sports Radio. CNR vacationing, but not Spot. Spot's doing our live stream that you can watch right now on YouTube. Big shout out to him. Thanks to Jason Stewart, Iowa Sam, and Isaac Lowenkron, all part of the crew today on this March Madness Thursday. We'll get to some madness in a second, but to clarify what we had talked about, the three-pointer at the buzzer for Hawaii waved off, you're saying?
So Arkansas now, they were up 54-39 at the moment in time when that basket went in. They are now up 18, 54-36. Hey, can I before we get to the nickname thing, can I play a piece of audio for you that I don't think that you've heard yet?
Yes.
Yeah, do you mind? No, I don't mean to throw off the rundown.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Sam, do we have that Bruce Pearl sound? So I'll set it up for half a second, okay? So I want to be fair to BP. You know, we know he's been a little bit of a mid-major hater throughout this process. We know about the son, blah, 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 this and that. His son's coaching at Auburn. And they do the post game, and I will acknowledge that he did give I listened back. He gave plenty of credit to High Point for the victory. He also said this, which hurt my brain. Maybe I'm overreacting. Sam, you can play the sound.
Are these Big Ten, are the schools from the high major teams, are they fatigued? Has the grind of the regular season kind of worn them out a little bit? I'm taking anything away from the mid-majors. We see some of that sometimes in big-time college football, the grind of an SEC football schedule. I'm wondering.
So he set that up by saying High Point looked faster, quicker to the ball, whatever. Am I overreacting that that's just a preposterous thing to say after a game like that?
Yeah, I think, and as someone who hates to hear about the grind of the SEC football schedule, when I feel like the power is shifted to maybe a different league in college football, I hate to hear that as an old argument. But there's no excuse, and I think Greg Gardner in Wisconsin would tell you the same thing, that there's no excuse for them to not win this basketball game. So it doesn't matter on a grind. Is he talking about the grind of the Big Ten? Slowing the Big Ten down?
Yeah, at first, when he started the rant, I thought it was more of a, playing the conference tournament so late in the week and the quick turnaround. But it felt like it was more like, they play 20 games in the Big Ten, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, didn't really seem to impact Nebraska at all in a negative way. So feels a little hollow. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. It just felt like just a weird thing to say, like, the grind, it wasn't like they were down 3 starters. Like, you could say the grind of the ACC caught up to Duke, or the grind of the Big Ten even caught up to UCLA, who was playing 3 games in 3 days in Indianapolis and had 2 starters go down. Just felt like a weird thing to say. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overreacting.
Here's the rub of it. Again, Wisconsin's a 5 seed, High Point's a 12 seed. I think that people knew the dangers of High Point considering the style that they play. I think Texas Tech, who plays a similar style, now faces an Akron team that also will play the same sort of style that they do. We know how dangerous 5-12 is.
Sure.
And I think sometimes that's where you can get seeding mishaps.
True. Fair.
But where are you going to put a High Point? You're going to put them as a 10 seed?
Sure.
Right? And so it's no excuse for Wisconsin to lose. Wisconsin still should win the game. Wisconsin had opportunities to win that game. Last year, when the brackets came out, I remember Colorado State was a 12 seed, and they were a favorite in their game.
Memphis.
All right? They played Memphis and ended up winning that game. In all 5-12 games that we've had in this bracket, all 5 seeds were favored. In all 4 of the matchups, Vanderbilt, McNeese just ended. Vandy wins. They were the favorite. St. John's favored against UNI tomorrow, and Wisconsin was favored against High Point. Now, there was some money coming in on High Point from stuff that I saw on TikTok, so it could have been a trendy 5-12 upset. But there's no point in reasoning what happens. It's just the freaking tournament.
Yeah.
Siena was a team that gets a 16 seed, Aaron. People are like, that's really a bad seed for them. They're a much better team than they were. Then they go and they lead Duke for 35 minutes of their game today and have a double-digit lead on the Blue Devils in the second half. And so, like, the seeding can screw things up. But is anybody giving a Duke a pass saying, like, well, Siena was misseeded? No, you have to win those games, and ultimately that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, it was just it just felt like a weird thing to say.
Bruce Pearl having a tough time.
Yeah.
He's after the Miami of Ohio thing, then the backtracking, and now anything that he says is a bit under the microscope. And then all people do is put up pictures of Jay Wright, saying like we miss
because
Jay
he's on
Wright.
the broadcast. Yep.
For over 40 years, Tire Rack has been helping customers find the right tires for how, what, and where they drive. Ship fast and free, backed by free road hazard protection with convenient installation options like mobile tire installation. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Time now for our Tire Rack Play of the Day.
Rebound goes to Dom Asar, and that's going to do it. It was a major scare from the 16 seed Siena Saints, but the number 1 overall seed Duke is moving on in Greenville, 71-65 after a 13-point second half comeback.
I want to go to the news desk with Isaac Lowenkron. We're going to get to the nickname thing, but I want to tell you why that outcome that we heard on Westwood 1 was good for everyone. Okay, it could have been the craziest outcome we've ever seen in college basketball history. It was not. Duke wins. Again, Westwood 1, Noah Eagle on the call there for the Blue Devils victory. But I want to tell you why Duke winning today is an actual good thing. Isaac, take it away.
All right, Dan and Aaron, we got 2 NCAA tournament games going on right now, both at halftime. 3-seed Michigan State leading 14-seed North Dakota State 45-25. 4-seed Arkansas up 54-39 over 13-seed Hawaii. Hey, are you into video games, celebrities, or just a good time? The Global Gaming League is a video game league with celebrity-owned teams. Celebrities like T-Pain and Neo competing in everything from Call of Duty to Tetris. Sign up and join the league now at globalgamingleague.com. Earlier, 1-seed Duke rallied from a 13-point second-half deficit to beat 16-seed Siena 71-65. Cameron Boozer, 22 points and 13 rebounds. Siena, by the way, became the first team to go an entire NCAA tournament game without making a substitution since DePaul in the 1979 national semifinal, which they lost to Larry Bird and Indiana State, by the way. 12-seed High Point upset 5-seed Wisconsin 83-82. Chase Johnson, the game-winning layup with 11 seconds to play. 9-seed TCU knocked off 8-seed Ohio State 66-64. Xavier Edmonds, the game-winning basket with 4 seconds to play. 5-seed Vanderbilt over 12-seed McNeese 78-68. 4-seed Nebraska beat 13-seed Troy by 29, 76-47. And 6-seed Louisville held off 11-seed South Florida 83-79. And finally, Dan, on behalf of your colleagues here at Fox Sports Radio,
You're the real MVP.
For providing us with an extraordinarily amazing NCAA tournament spread of wings here at Fox Sports Radio today. So delectable.
Me. Oh, yeah, it was management. Management knows who they are.
Management.
Yes, thank you, management. You know who you are. Giving the thumbs up.
So delectable that former NBA guard Lou Williams was spotted moments ago in the break room.
There is. I know. I was going to say there actually is lemon pepper bone in and bone outs out there in the kitchen here at Fox Sports Radio. Now, the reason why we missed out on college basketball history being a good thing for us, I feel that the passion that people have with their bracket, having Duke being wiped out today, would have been the greatest upset we have seen in college basketball. It would have dwarfed Villanova, Georgetown, because of who Duke is, where they are in this bracket, the 116 nature, just the power of the 116. And to have that game, if Duke would have lost, would have been the greatest upset we would have seen. Duke ends up prevailing. And that's good because people will stay interested in the tournament because their bracket is still alive. For the moments of watching Siena, for us in this 2-hour window that we're filling in for Covino and Rich on the air here, it would have been great. But for the next 3 weeks to not have that team in the bracket, the team that everyone loves to hate, would just have been very deflating. You wouldn't have had Janice in accounting talking about her bracket or Terry over in the shop complaining about his bracket and where it's gone. Because
or Lou in the break room eating wings right now.
Right?
We wouldn't shut up. Yeah.
No one would care. So ultimately, and the other thing about it is I truly think when you're watching that game, if you filled out a bracket, you kind of want Duke to win.
Sure.
Right? Like for as great as it is for Siena, unless you have Duke losing to St. John's in the Sweet 16, you want Duke to win for your own sake.
Yes.
And so I think a majority of the people were in the boat and seeing like, oh my goodness, don't lose to Siena. History would have told us it's the greatest upset, but it wouldn't have been an upset that people would have looked back fondly because their brackets likely would have been ruined.
No, and it's the most cliche talking point this time of year, but it's true, is that, it's the instant gratification of the upset. And then, you wake up and you're like, Siena, is playing TCU in a round of 32 game, and this is what I'm supposed to get excited about. It's just it doesn't carry over, and I've heard so many people through the years talk about the upsets sound fun in the moment, and then you get too many mid-majors, too many small schools that you're not familiar with, and then all of a sudden the tournament becomes less interesting. I'll tell you this, too. I don't remember if you and I did any shows during the NFL playoffs, but I felt like this year it was the first time in my life that I ever felt like the NFL lost some juice in the play. We always hear about the NBA is the star-driven league and the NFL is the, it's about the shield. But I was on air here on Fox Sports Radio when Josh Allen got knocked out by the Denver Broncos, and you look up and there's no Lamar and there's no Mahomes, and obviously at the time we didn't know that they were going to be playing the Patriots, but it's like we got either Denver, New England, or Denver, I guess it would have been Houston, right, in the AFC Championship game. Like, hard for me to get too excited about that, and then obviously on the other side. So I think that the brand names, as much as we, quote-unquote, as you said, love to hate them, it does help create interest for the casual person, whether it's an NCAA tournament, NFL playoffs, NBA playoffs.
I felt that way with the AFC playoff window. I have rooting interest with the Seahawks,
sure,
so I was
100%.
completely. But I also think that the Seahawks and Rams provided great drama, and the Rams and Bears, for that matter. Jason Stewart, executive producer.
I think Aaron and I both have Dan Beyer to thank for our survivor pool interest, and I see everything now in the tournament through the prism of a survivor pool. In other words, for all the people whose bracket would have been ruined, I was also thinking, I would have loved to have Duke to play in my survivor pool if I'm around in the Elite Eight. You want those talented teams around for kind of no-brainers maybe late in the tournament, right?
And I think a lot of people then pick TCU in the next round. And now that's not a guarantee. We saw St. Peter's go on their run to the Elite Eight, but that would be another setup like a domino while everybody's going to pick TCU now in the next game, so there isn't a lot to lose. All of that plays into it, which is why March is great. March is great for just the drama, but then when you have so many different ways to enjoy it, it's even better, Aaron Torres. Trust me.
No, don't disagree. And, it is funny how, you want whatever benefits you in the moment, but then, like you said, bigger picture, there's, little to fall back on. By the way, does Arkansas become the number one all-time survivor pool pick on Saturday, Jay Stu? Because I'm pretty sure they are. If Arkansas beats Hawaii, they will be playing High Point, and I would guess that 99.9% of survivor pools will have Arkansas.
Good point.
Some form or fashion.
Because you then think that they would lose to Arizona in the next round.
Exactly right.
That's like the goal of the survivor pool, but we haven't seen all the upsets play out.
And Arkansas hasn't won yet, by the way.
Plus, the way to win those survivor pools is to go against the grain where everybody goes, and hopefully chaos ensues, and then a whole bunch of people are knocked out. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can watch us live right now on YouTube. That's right. Come find us. We're live with video on YouTube right now. Just search Covino and Rich FSR on YouTube. Again, that's Covino and Rich FSR. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. And after you're done with that, hit the thumbs up icon and send in your comments, whether you agree or disagree with us. We want to hear from you. Go check out our YouTube channel and watch us live right now. Just search Covino and Rich FSR and subscribe. Flynn Clayman, the head coach of High Point, had this to say after their win today over Wisconsin.
It looks pretty obvious to me that high majors need to play mid-majors during the season because they said we ain't played nobody. We played somebody now.
How'd you do it?
Feels unreal because I know how good of a team we had, but nobody would play us, just like they wouldn't play Miami, Ohio. But they got to play us in this tournament.
Coach, you were down by 10 early on. What changed?
We just settled in. We settled in. We got a hell of a team. We settled in.
So, Evan, on the live YouTube broadcast, Bart Scott from the Jets was a nominee. We also got a tweet.
Can't wait.
Yeah, good job, Iowa Sam. We also got a tweet from Mr. Mojo Rising Jr. the third. Denny Green was his nominee of where that could end up. It's somewhere. I don't know if that's exactly it, but those are some good nominations. Again,
If
you
you
can hit
want
us
to crown
up.
them, then crown their ass. They are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
I still think it's Richard Sherman only because Richard Sherman, it didn't matter what question he was asked, was just going to give the exact answer that he gave. And that was the vibe, the Flynn Clayman vibes that I got earlier today.
I think he's trying.
Don't you ever talk about me.
See, Sherman's voice is high. I think Flynn is trying to talk deeper to sound tougher. I think he's adding this like sort of like deeper bass baritone to try to sound tougher. It's gonna come to me. It's gonna pop up at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. He is Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. Caleb Williams is trying to do something that George Costanza couldn't do. We'll explain what that is next here on Fox Sports Radio. Have you ever wiped with a piece of dry single-ply toilet paper and wondered, is this as good as it gets? Well, it's not. Covino and Rich will tell you as well. It gets a lot better thanks to the wet, large cleaning power of Dude Wipes. And when we say extra large, we mean business. So no matter the size of your mess from top to bottom, Dudes has you covered for a confident clean. They comfortably clean up wherever TP leaves behind, and for no more maintenance wipes. Debris? No way. Irritation? Not a chance. It's time to make the trade of the season and switch from TP to wet extra large Dude Wipes and start experiencing the confident clean of Dude Wipes made from 100% plant-based natural fibers, coming in a variety of scents and sensations like mint chill and shea butter to protect your end zone. Join the movement for cleaner movements and live a skid-free life. Available at Amazon and at major retailers nationwide. Dude Wipes, best clean, pants down.
We have a guest. Let's welcome at Kelly in Vegas. Kelly Stewart from Splash Sports is on the show. We caught up with Kelly at the Super Bowl, and now she's here to break down some March Madness, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Dipsy Dude, Dunkaroo, baby.
How are you, Kelly?
Hey, Kelly.
Oh, good. I'm going to have to redeem myself from the Super Bowl, though. Man, that was,
What's your first thought when you look at a new bracket every March?
So I did a live show yesterday during Selection Sunday, and that was a first for me. So I've got the TV on. I'm managing 4 different personalities on air, and I'm going, okay, this is going to get to be a lot. And it really wasn't, because none of that matters. The power ratings set by Vegas matter so much more than the seedings. And I think the committee has started to almost align, right? Years before, we would be shocked. I can't believe X team is an 11 seed. I think it was North Carolina, NC State a few years ago. There was nothing outside of Missouri being a 10 seed that made me go, huh? What is going on here? Siena being a 16 seed was kind of funny. We had a Siena grad on the show, and he's throwing a fit. They should have been a 15 seed. But once we saw the 15s, it's like, no, they shouldn't. There was no team yesterday that I was surprised got in, and no one that got left out surprised me. It was a very just straightforward Selection Sunday, and that's so unusual for me.
At Kelly in Vegas, if you want to follow and play along on social media, at Kelly in Vegas. When you talk about the seeding, we're filling our brackets out for Fox Sports Radio. I'm just picking whatever. I'm wondering, with all these teams involved, and for the casual fans, is there any skill involved when choosing your bracket, when choosing these teams?
Oh, there has to be. But the number one skill that you need is luck. I mean, we've all seen that filling out the perfect bracket is like hitting the Mega Millions. It's got to be probably even higher odds than that. Truth be told, I do one bracket every single year just for fun, just so that I can kind of map things out. And it's not really to see who's going to win the national championship. It's to find spots after the round of 64 where I go, okay, here's who I've got circled. Here's who I want to look at to go a little bit farther than Vegas expects or than the selection committee expects. So we saw last year there was like hardly any upsets, and that was upsetting to me, right? I'm the queen of the underdogs. I want the chaos. I want the madness. And I'm hoping we see it a little bit this year, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago, Duquesne, I was in Mexico for one of my best friend's birthdays, and we're at this little tequila bar on the beach, and Duquesne upsets BYU, and the whole bar just goes nuts because that's what March is about. So I'm hoping we see some really fun things. Does my bracket have way too many of those? Of course it does.
Well, what is the strategy, Kelly? I mean, let's talk about making money now. Is this a sucker's time to bet, or is this a really great opportunity to make some money? Because there's a lot of point spreads, probably with, I mean, I know Vegas knows, but unfamiliar teams. You and I were talking before we went on this podcast that no one knows all these teams. There's hundreds of teams in college hoops. No one knows them all. No one knows, they beat
What are you
that
talking
team.
about? I see all these experts on social media all the time.
Exactly. Is there a strategy here? Is this an opportunity to make money or not?
No, of course, there's always an opportunity to make money where you can find an edge. And there's going to be some spots where you're paying a premium for the blue bloods, if you will, the Dukes of the world. Florida just won the national championship last year. So obviously people are expecting them to not necessarily run it back, but to go far in the tournament. A lot of people loved Michigan in January. They were the team to win it all. And guess what? Since then, they haven't covered the spread. And so everybody's jumped off the Michigan bandwagon. And my spidey senses start to go off and go, all right, maybe this is the time to start paying attention to Michigan now that everybody's written them off. I'm looking to fade some ACC teams. Okay. I'm looking to fade some of the bottom of the barrel SEC teams that did get in, right? Last year, they got 14 teams in it. This year, only 10. So at least the committee got that part right. But some of those teams that squeaked in, if you will, I'm looking to say, all right, you probably were on the fringe. They let you in because of the conference you were in, and I'm going to be betting against you early and often. I will say this, some of the, for just basic bracket strategy, if you are looking to do some upsets, 16 seeds versus 1 seeds are 2-76 all time.
I know.
To win, right?
Not a good one.
You're just advancing. I'm not even talking gambling. This is just for your bracketology. 15 seeds, 7-73. 14 seeds, 10-70. 13 seeds, 17-63. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. No,
that'll be fun with more hoops from you guys.
Sir. Yep.
And I got a chance to appear last weekend as we previewed our selection show. You can hear me and Kerry Rhodes this Sunday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific. We'll be smack dab in that middle window, too, on Sunday. Now with games all day long on Sunday,
yes,
we usually have the one-off at first and then another one-off, and then the other 6 games kind of filter in a staggered rollout. But so we'll be in the thick of that coming up at 5 Eastern.
Well, while we're doing scheduling notes, I'll be in with Mike Harmon, 9 a.m. to 11 Pacific, so noon to 2 Eastern time, right during that, as you said, that one standalone game to start Sunday. It would be Sunday with Mike Harmon.
Oh, perfect. Make sure to tune in noon Eastern, 9 Pacific for that show. Your next success can begin sooner than you think. Put your goals within reach at University of Maryland Global Campus, an accredited state university. Undergraduate and most graduate classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. I don't know why I almost called your show a contest, but I almost did.
It is a contest.
It's a contest.
Who's right?
Whose bracket's better, Harmon
Yes.
or Torres? Find out noon Eastern time Sunday morning. You'll have a prime time. We talk about the schedule rollout and how they do it. There'll be a really good matchup tipping off when you guys are on the air. To break from the college action, as right now it looks like Michigan State's taking it to North Dakota State, up 61-35, and Arkansas has a 17-point lead on Hawaii 5 minutes into the second half. There's some news from the NFL. Do you know what Caleb Williams' nickname is?
Well, I only know it because you guys do a great job of preparing me for the show.
You don't know what it is, right? Because
I would not have guessed
it.
If you had given me 1,000 guesses.
If you told me, like, the CW, I would have been like, perfect, right? TV network and what it is. You could have said, what, like 1-3, something.
The Grizzly, something Bear-related.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you guys know that Caleb Williams has a nickname? Did you know this, Jason Stewart?
I had no idea until I read it this morning.
Okay. Could be the 1-8 now that he wears for the Bears. Iowa Sam?
I saw Mike Florio post about it. So that late last night was when I found out about it.
So, and Florio and I are also on the same track. I didn't realize it, but I had our editors pull this sound from one of the greatest TV shows of all time. It's one George Costanza who wants to be nicknamed T-Bone.
Let's order lunch. Mary, I will have a chef salad.
Turkey sandwich.
T-bone steak.
For lunch?
Well, I am just a T-bone kind of guy. Love that T-bone. In fact, you might as well call me.
That sounds good. I'll have one too. Watkins, you having a T-bone?
I love them.
Well, then we should call you T-bone.
No, we shouldn't.
T-bone.
T-bone. T-bone. T-bone. T-bone. T-bone.
So Watkins stealing George's thunder and also stealing the nickname T-Bone from him. It made me laugh because Caleb Williams is trying to trademark Iceman. I've never heard it once. I never heard it in the playoff win against the Packers. I didn't hear it in their regular season game against the Packers. I didn't hear it in their overtime loss to the Rams. I never heard once from a guy who played again at Oklahoma and Southern Cal, who goes to Chicago for 2 years and is now being called Iceman.
There's the other very obvious twist to this. George Gervin doesn't have that trademarked or whatever. I mean, it's just, that was my other thought. It's like, the Iceman's George Gervin. I know he's 100 years old and none of us watched him play, but he's the Iceman. Everybody knows that.
I don't watch movies, and I know there's this.
Matt, you want to know who the best is? That's him, Iceman. It's the way he flies, ice cold, no mistakes.
Hey, Top Gun, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Yes. Never once did I think of Caleb Williams as Iceman.
No.
But he apparently has tried to file a trademark and seeks trademark protection for the nickname.
I will say the other very obvious thing. The only successful self-named nickname that I'm aware of is obviously like Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba. Is there another one that's self-named?
No, not at all. Yeah. I don't know of any. Jason, Sam?
I think Mamba's the one. But I will say this about ice cold, no mistakes. I want to say, is he the least accurate starting quarterback in the NFL? I'm not even exaggerating, right?
I think he
Doesn't
is,
that
actually,
imply a lot of mistakes? That's not no mistakes.
See, I think he's totally trying to play off of the cold weather and the magical play that he made to allow the Bears to go to overtime against the Rams, but then, again, ultimately lose that game. Mm-hmm. So that's why just let someone else call you Iceman. Let it just happen naturally.
You're a Seahawks guy. I'm getting a little Russell Wilson vibe here. We could continue it on the other side.
Yes, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. He's Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. Neither of us Icemen, but we are in for Covino and Rich here on Fox Sports Radio. Coming up next, we recap the crazy day that it's been in the NCAA tournament, and Barry Bonds is back. It's next on Fox.
It's Covino and Rich on Fox Sports Radio. Are you ready?
Yes! We talk about pop culture, we talk about sports, we talk about life.
It's a friendship on the radio.
When you talk about the best athlete in the world, you're probably thinking Jim Thorpe, right?
I'm thinking
joking.
Bo Jackson.
I'd have to throw myself at the age of 12 into the conversation.
You are the home run champion. When you find the commonality between sports and life, those analogies and conversations are the best.
You were dating some girl, and you were like,
hey, babe, let's watch The Sixth Sense.
Her mom walked in. Can you believe he was dead the whole time?
I wanted to get up.
Well, slow down, Dana White.
I don't want to say
It's never boring.
If the Chiefs win,
sorry, Patrick Mahomes here. What do you mean by if the Chiefs win?
Our friendship is real. It's authentic. You can't fake the funk.
we're the type of guys you'd want to hang out with at a sports bar. Best way to pick someone up at a bar?
Yeah.
Go up to a cute girl and say, oh, look at that bozo over there, and I'll point to you. We could make fun of each other, poke each other a little bit.
I call him Blubber Lips, Rich Davis, because he never stops talking.
He thinks he's the Mexican Fonz.
Yeah.
At any point, he's wearing a chain. You have a chain on?
Always.
Of course he has a chain on. That's like asking me if I'm wearing cologne right now. Of course I am. I take a lot of pride in being inclusive and interactive on our show. Just the more the merrier.
Josh, Covino thinks that every man should own a leather jacket.
I only wear vegan leather.
Can you believe this guy?
I can't believe this guy. We have a very special connection with our audience, our listeners. People feel that friendship.
And I appreciate y'all's show. I love it.
It's all for you. Thank you.
Mike Tyson, Covino, loves to just challenge us with random Mike Tyson trivia.
Which accomplished celebrity purchased my sprawling Connecticut estate?
I'm going to go 50 Cent.
You are absolutely correct. 50 Cent. I love his song.
You can't schedule a big event during a big sports moment.
My family member scheduled their wedding the same night as a Julio Cesar Chavez fight. Everyone was glued to that fight instead of doing the electric slide.
This is weak.
Unbelievable. You're very tricky.
America, you got sports, you got fun, you got us.
Covino and Rich.
We're crushing it.
In the NCAA tournament right now, 3-seed Michigan State leads 14-seed North Dakota State 69-48 with 10:45 left in the second half. 4-seed Arkansas ahead of 13-seed Hawaii 73-55, 11:26 to go second half. Earlier, 1-seed Duke rallied from a 13-point second half deficit to beat 16-seed Siena 71-65. 12-seed High Point upset 5-seed Wisconsin 83-82. Chase Johnson, the game-winning layup with 11 seconds to play. 9-seed TCU knocked off 8-seed Ohio State 66-64. Xavier Edmonds, the game-winning basket with 4 seconds to play. 5-seed Vanderbilt over 12-seed McNeese 78-68. 4-seed Nebraska beat 13-seed Troy 76-47. 6-seed Louisville held off 11-seed South Florida 83-79. I'm Isaac Lowenkron.
There's something about Thursday. There's something about March Madness. There's something about wings. They just all go together. If you're watching us on our live feed on YouTube right now, maybe you can even see my lips on fire from the spicy wings that we've got today. I'm not encouraging you to do it if you're on your way home from work, but they just taste better when college basketball, the NCAA tournament is on. It's true. Not encouraging you to go to any specific restaurants or anything, but it's just better. That's the way it is. I don't know what made it that way. I know people have wings on football Sundays, but there's also something about it Thursday with the NCAA tournament.
I was going to say, beer tastes colder too, Wings Beer Sports, but let the record show. No beer here. No beer here.
No beer here.
I want the record to show. I'm just saying Wings Beer Sports. There's a reason that's a catchphrase.
I'll tell you who is here. Jason Stewart is here for hour number 2 of this extravaganza.
Hello, everybody.
So is Iowa Sam.
I'm loving it. Loving every minute of it.
Wearing his Iowa women's basketball shirt. They're not playing today, but the men will play tomorrow.
Yep, men tomorrow, women on Saturday.
Isaac Lowenkron is at the news desk giving us the latest. What's going on, Isaac? Not much. Your next success can begin sooner than you think. Put your goals within reach at University of Maryland Global Campus, an accredited state university. Undergraduate and most graduate classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. That throw to Isaac was like how my bracket looked after 4 games today. Non-existent. I just gave you the what's up. That's all. It just gave you a hello.
Oh, what's up?
Yes.
I was taking a dramatic pause.
Right? Now, I know you don't care. I know people don't care, but I went 0 for 4 to start the day. Ohio State lost. Yes. Troy, that was my upset pick over Nebraska. I felt that the moment was going to be too big for the Cornhuskers. 11 over a 6 when Louisville's losing one of their best players, potential lottery pick. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
Bulls shoot 5 of 33 from long range and lose by 4. And ultimately, Wisconsin, my alma mater, falls to a high point. Badgers had opportunities. They sure did. You know what else they did when they were down with about 2 seconds to go, Aaron Torres? They threw it the length of the court to try to get a bucket, as opposed to what Ohio State did against TCU with 4 seconds left, having Bruce Thornton inbound it to Christoph Tilley in the backcourt, then have Tilley throw it back to Thornton, and have Thornton dribble up using the entire 4 seconds of the clock to heave up a half-court shot that ultimately is off the mark, and TCU ends up advancing. A horrendous way to draw up a final play for Ohio State, and that lost to TCU today.
So it's interesting. Bill Raftery, Grant Hill, the Final Four crew was on that game. And Bill Raftery, who I think we can all agree, pretty non-controversial guy. You heard what he said? He did say something at the end to the effect of like, Bruce Thornton's not really a playmate. He's not really a
guy. Yeah.
Something like that. Quick twitch guy, something like that. But the insinuation being like, I haven't coached in 50 years, and that's not what I would have drawn up if I was Diepler.
And it's not even the fact that Bruce Thornton isn't quick. It's that you gave the ball to Bruce Thornton after he inbounded it in the backcourt and had someone throw it back to him.
Yeah.
And then he had to dribble up half the court. TCU just cut it off, and by the time he could do anything with a second and a half, he maybe could have thrown it to John Mobley for a 35-footer that would have been rushed. But, wow, just an awful play. And credit to TCU on the previous possession. Got it with 34 seconds left. Took the shot clock all the way down. They got a bucket at point-blank range.
That was one of the weirder – because, you're kind of watching like, is this going to be a buzzer beater type thing? And they're just dribbling it. And then David Punch, who's their star, like inlet – what's the right word? He gets it into the post, and I'm like – wow, this is the slowest developing buzzer beater ever, and it wasn't. They scored with about 4 seconds left, but it was like he had more time than I think that I realized that he had because, like I said, he just fed the post. Just had a big missed dunk by Arkansas. He had time to feed the post and everything. So, yeah, it was an interesting dichotomy between the two final possessions there.
But, again, as Aaron and I told you last hour, 8-9 really doesn't matter much. Unless the one loses, which Duke almost did.
Sure.
I don't want to say that they almost lost, but they were down by to Siena for 85% of this game. And there was opportunities where Duke could have taken the lead in the second half. Couldn't do it. Siena would go on a bit of a run, push it back out to 6. Ultimately, Duke ends up surviving. So my question to you, Aaron Torres, bigger story that Duke had this much trouble with Siena or High Point takes Wisconsin and knocks the Badgers out of this tournament?
Oh, it's a good question. I think High Point is the more interesting, result. Obviously, it goes without saying because the upset happened. I would actually go the other way, though, with Duke because, again, go back to you and I. I was fortunate enough to sit in for Kerry Rhodes on Sunday afternoon when the bracket came out, and we talked about Duke played the ACC tournament without 2 starters, and, the way John Shire kind of framed it was, hey, let's be cautious here. But you kind of said if those guys don't come back, it was going to be an uphill battle for Duke, and I think that's exactly what we saw today. Now, Patrick Gongba, their starting center, indications are that he will be back Sunday. We will see. It's a foot. It's a big man. He has a history of lower body injuries, even at just 20, 21 years old. So I think it's a bigger story because we talked all year, or as a college basketball community, the discussion all year was there was that clear top 3 of Michigan, Duke, and Arizona, maybe a 4th with Florida. I don't think Duke is in that tier if they can't get guys healthy, and I don't think there's reason to believe that they will be fully healthy as this tournament goes on.
It's crazy when you look at the 4-5 matchups, especially with what's happened with Alabama this week.
Sure.
But when we looked at the brackets on Sunday, I think we thought the branding of what the East had, the caliber of coaches that the East had, make it a difficult trek for Duke, as you laid out. Then you also looked at the West.
Yep.
And you just looked at Arizona's path, at least in the top half of that bracket, with Wisconsin and Arkansas being there. Now, Arizona wouldn't have to play both of them, but they would have to play one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you were to take your pick, obviously Texas Tech is a conference foe. It is a 5 seed, but I mentioned Alabama in the 4 seed. The 4-5 in the other bracket was Vanderbilt and Nebraska.
Yep.
I think those 4-5s were easier in the South and the Midwest than they were in the East and the West. So while we're maybe, and I want to write off High Point, and Arizona hasn't even played a minute of this tournament, but we're sitting here and we're looking at Arizona, Arkansas in the Sweet 16, which I think a lot of people have in their brackets. I may be getting ahead of myself, but that is marquee to the T, just like Duke St. John's would be, with Duke going up against Rick Pitino. And I just wonder about the roads because here Michigan to me has a bit of a cakewalk to the Elite Eight.
Totally agree.
And so Florida's only hiccup, I think, could be if they have a rematch with Vanderbilt in the Sweet 16. But the good news for them is they have chip on their shoulder from losing in the SEC tournament. So you at least have that edge. The roads of Duke were difficult, and the roads for Arizona were difficult. And now as things play out, even with Wisconsin out of the picture, now Arkansas comes in, and Arkansas, who's up 19 right now against Hawaii, will likely be a sizable favorite against High Point. Not a guarantee that they're going to win, but these matchups that the committee, I think, wanted in the Sweet 16 are starting to, show themselves out.
No, and it's interesting because I hadn't realized this when we were on the bracket show, but I had forgotten there's some tournament history with Arizona and Wisconsin. For people who don't remember, Wisconsin knocked Arizona out of the NCAA tournament in the Elite Eight in back-to-back years in 2014, 2015. So when we were on air for the bracket show, I was sitting there saying, tough draw for Arizona. Arkansas is coming off this SEC tournament championship. They've got a lottery pick in Darius Acuff. And Arizona fans were more worried about Wisconsin just because of the history between those two schools in the NCAA tournament. So to your point, we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. What were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's an interesting point, though. Fans are worried about what happened 10 years ago.
I know.
It has nothing to – Wisconsin is the exact opposite of the team that was played with Kaminsky and Decker on the front line.
Not even the same coach.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would have – the reason why I think Wisconsin was dangerous to Arizona was because of their backcourt. Because of Nick Boyd and John Blackwell.
Yep.
Yes, that would be able to put pressure, and maybe Arizona wouldn't have had – Wisconsin does have some size as well. Like, that would be the danger. But it's funny that you say that because, there absolutely is history. They ended up playing out here in the West Coast.
Let me ask you this, bigger picture. How much do you take the history? Because, like, Arizona, we heard that a lot this week is, they quote-unquote choke every year. Well, they really don't. Last year they were a 4 seed and they lost to Duke in the Sweet 16. They played to their seed. A couple other times they have played to their seed. There was 3 or 4 seasons ago, they lost to Princeton when Princeton was a 15 and they were a 2. But I just ask you, does that, and I'll set up my own thought before I throw it over to you. I don't really look too much at the history because the players and the coaching staffs turn over so fast. Like even, when the draw came out on Sunday, I had a lot of St. John's fans of, we got screwed again. And last year we lost in the opening round. I'm like, last year is totally different. And I know it's the same head coach. Big East Player of the Year for St. John's this year was on the roster last year. But I don't think there's very much carryover from year to year with these programs, even with these same coaches, the way that there was a decade ago, 15 years ago.
I would say it's probably true. I do think Louisville losing last year probably helped them this time around. But again, when you hit 13 of 25 threes, that's what's going to ultimately help the most. So, yeah, I don't think that there's as much carryover. I do think it does reveal in coaching, though.
Agreed.
It does reveal when teams are falling short and they're falling short in a certain way. And, we just used the play that Ohio State, drew up. Jake Diebler's been a bit under the microscope, especially considering the coaches that could have been available to Ohio State at the time that he ended up getting the job full-time after taking over on an interim basis for Chris Holtmann, who was dismissed. But when you look at Dusty May, who was a candidate or thought to be a candidate for that job, now Dusty May's a 1 seed with Michigan and one of the top teams in the country. Calipari was another name that was thrown out with Ohio State, and as we talk about this Arkansas team. So I think the coaching stuff stays the same, and that's probably the best way to look at it as well, just with the constant of it. And, yeah, it's not Bo Ryan. Greg Gard, though, is a disciple of Bo Ryan. But, yeah, it's not the same coaches. Sean Miller's not there. But if you're, Tommy Lloyd and you're starting to have these teams that have high expectations and you're falling short, that ends up building up some scar tissue. I mean, Jim Boeheim. Right? Look at how Boeheim's entire life changed when they won the national championship in 2003. Because it was always of the guy. By the way, then Boeheim became cool. Jason Stewart, you followed Syracuse. They win in 2003. Boeheim always seemed like the nerdy, tall, lanky coach. They win in 2003, and all of a sudden now, look at me. I'm Jimmy B. I'm Jimmy Boeheim. I'm dressing this way.
His wife was 20 years young. She still is 20 years
younger.
But
It changes everything.
He was kind of the bitter curmudgeon for the longest time. And then, he wins that thing, and he's Mr. Personality.
Yes, completely. I went to an NCAA tournament in 1999, first and second round games in Indianapolis. We showed up on the Wednesday before, and there was a downtown mall in Indianapolis, and I just remember there were teams that were walking through. Ohio State was there. They were at the mall. And there's Jim Boeheim walking by himself in a trench coat, walking past the Macy's. It was so odd, but I'm thinking to myself, and you think back then, would you see Coach K? Because this was before the national championship. Would you see one of those guys? But it changed everything 4 years later when they ended up winning. So my ultimate point, if Arizona and Tommy Lloyd keep on falling short in the NCAA tournament, and that Princeton team, by the way, won another game in the tournament, right? Went to the Sweet 16. But if you keep on falling short, that's what people are going to remember.
One more question in the same vein. How much pressure, taking aside that they almost lost today, how much pressure do you think is on Jon Scheyer? Because I heard a lot of that, he's got the best player every year, it's Duke. And I'm like, it's his fourth year. They made a Final Four last year. They just had, by any tangible measurement, the best regular season that Duke has had basically in 30 years since 1999. It was their best regular season finish. I don't think there's pressure on him, and I actually think, weirdly, the way the bracket lines up, it's I think if St. John's beats him, specifically St. John's, I think it will be more of a celebration of Rick Pitino's greatness than Jon Scheyer's, not being able to do the job. Now, if they lose to TCU, and I think to a degree if they lost to Kansas, with the way Kansas has been kind of up and down this year, it would be a conversation. But I just bring it up because I've heard a lot of that about Jon Scheyer, and I don't know that I personally believe that.
I don't think it matters one bit.
I agree.
I don't think it matters one iota for two reasons.
Yeah, I think if he lost today, but yeah.
If he lost today, you'd maybe raise an eyebrow. But when you just look at the players that they've brought in, right? I mean, you have Cam Booser, who's the unanimous All-American from the Associated Press, last year's class. You look at what Cooper Flagg and Con Kneppel are doing now in the NBA. I know people will hold that against Scheyer, how could you not win without that? They had a 10-minute stretch where they couldn't hit a bucket. Otherwise, things are different. The other reason why I don't think it's a big deal is because of how Scheyer got the job. how many Duke assistants, and even throughout the years, even before Coach K actually stepped down, how many guys did we think were in line and were prepping themselves for that job, whether it be Mike Bray, whether it be Tommy Amaker, whether it be Johnny Dawkins.
Jeff Capel.
Yeah, like all of these other coaches. And it goes to Shire.
Sure.
So, like, there's a reason that it went to him.
I agree.
And so, for whatever the reason is, I don't think that any of that heat, if they were to not get it done or underwhelm in this tournament, because they hired him because that's who they wanted. And I don't think that these outcomes are going to change that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I heard enough people talk about it that I was kind of surprised that I felt it was worth bringing up. But I again, I think if he had lost today, it would have been like, just handed the keys to a Ferrari and crashed it. But he didn't lose today. I think they'll play much better against TCU. And then, like I said, if you get to a Sweet 16 and you lose to Bill Self or Rick Pitino, I think it's more of a celebration of those guys than it is tear down Duke, especially with the injuries.
And Coach Cal is 6:06 to go to celebrate a first-round win, up 20 on Hawaii, 83-63. Tom Izzo, a little more than 5 minutes to go, as they're up 17 on North Dakota State in that 3-14 matchup.
How about Hall of Fame Thursday? Just Hall of Famers just hanging out with us here on a Thursday afternoon. It's nice.
It's not too shabby. He is Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. It is Covino and Rich here on Fox Sports Radio. Jason Stewart is here, as is Iowa Sam and Isaac Lowenkron, who's giving us the latest. If you missed any of today's show, you'll want to catch the podcast. Just search Covino and Rich wherever you get your podcast. Right after the show, today's podcast will be posted. Be sure to follow the podcast, rated 5 stars, and you can even provide a review. Again, just search Covino and Rich wherever you get your podcast, and you'll find today's full show and a best-of version posted right after the end of the show. One college basketball program played a game of dirty pool. And is a dirty player back in the game when it comes to baseball? We'll tell you next here on Fox Sports Radio. Every sports season is built on preparation, studying the trends and making the necessary adjustments to reach the ultimate goal.
Investing deserves the same approach. With Webull, you have access to real-time market data, advanced tools, and an intuitive app designed to help you make informed decisions.
Whether you're actively trading stocks, options, ETFs, and more, or planning for the long term for you and your family with IRAs, cash management, and custodial accounts for children, Webull gives you the tools to invest your way all in one platform.
Looking to take your preparation to the next level? Check out Webull's Learn resources and join their in-app community feed to discuss investing trends and happenings alongside 25 million users globally.
And now, to help streamline your trading activities and elevate your strategy, try Vega, Webull's personal market AI assistant that can give real-time analysis, watch list insights, and alerts when earnings drop.
So get your financial portfolio game ready by downloading the Webull app today or visiting Webull.com.
Webull Financial, LLC, member SIPC FINRA. Investing involves risk. For more information, visit Webull.com/disclosures.
Want to talk some of the craziest sports flexes? I know you have some things on your mind, Rich.
Yeah, I mean this Wemby thing. You saw it before me because I was like, wait, what are you guys looking at here? And I'm like, is his foot? What?
Well, like, put it in perspective. Growing up, this is when you realize, well, I guess I'm never gonna make it in the NBA. Like, if you could touch the rim, that was an accomplishment. First, like, you hit the bottom of the net. You're like, all right, I'm getting some ups here.
Yeah, Covino told us he touches rim just standing up.
No.
Not toilet. Not toilet.
You're just thinking playground, right?
Honestly, your
gymnasium, high school.
You're absolutely right. If you're just horsing around with your buddies at gym class or at the playground,
you started with the bottom. You're like, all right, I got the bottom.
I'm not going to BS shit. None of my friends could slam dunk, but it was a bragging right to be like, yo, you could touching rim was like, all right.
Touching rim was you had some ups.
Touching rim meant you were like roughly 6 foot and like you had some skills. Like, oh, I could touch rim.
And then
I can't
they
dunk.
started mass producing those adjustable rims. Everyone had one. You lower it down to 8 feet. You start slamming, jamming, rip roaring, and ramming. All right, that was a game changer. But for most regular people, you barely touch rim. And now you got freaks in the NBA like Wembanyama. This dude could lift his leg.
He karate kicks it.
He could karate kick the rim.
Do you understand what we're saying here?
That's why I'm putting it in perspective. We couldn't even jump with our hands held high and hit the rim barely. This guy lifts his leg up,
a little crane kick like Daniel LaRusso. He touches it with his big toe.
Look at it this way. We've seen things where it's like, yo, you've seen a guy hit his head on the backboard where you're like, yo, he's so tall that he went up for a rebound and misjudged it, and he,
ups.
Yo, sometimes
I used to pray for ups. Never got any.
Danny, you've seen players hit their head.
Oh yeah,
on the lower part of the backboard because it just they're so big. But
LeBron was trending the other night because on one of his dunks, his head was at the rim, just above the rim, and people were like, this freak is 41 and his head's above the rim still.
To think just a regular guy. If we went to the basketball court right now at the gym across the street, if I told you, Covino, take off from the free throw line and see how close you would even get, and then think Michael Jordan and guys like that were taking off and dunking from there and doing pump fakes and you jump, your feet are on the ground that quick.
So when we're seeing guys like Wembanyama now able to put their foot up to the rim, what are some other crazy sport flexes that come to mind? I got a few. I got some fun ones and some legit ones. What comes to mind immediately is Kurt Hennig, how he would throw a pass and catch the pass to himself because he was Mr. Perfect. Because he did everything perfect.
All right, I'll give you one for real. I'm not saying Mr. Perfect wasn't real. I'm just
wait a second.
You know how he bowled the 300, was perfect to pool. It was a great gimmick.
Mr. Perfect has a sweet three-point shot too.
I'll give you one that I always was fascinated by because as a kid, you didn't realize how much strength was needed when Bo Jackson would break a bat over his knee,
sports
or just
flex.
Break a bat. You'd be like, yo, you thought about that. And you're like, oh, okay, and then you hold the bat and you're like, oh.
Yeah, right. He broke it over his helmet.
Yeah,
over his helmet.
You know who did it this year? I'm gonna miss him a lot. Polar Bear Pete Alonso did that this year. And when you see one of these big, strong guys break a baseball bat, you're like. Or it's like a strong guy ripping a phone book. You know,
if you tried to do that, you'd probably roll around in pain. So we'll get to your phone calls, your feedback, and we got more, crazy sports flexes next. But we got Ilo now with an update.
Isaac Lowenkron.
Do you mind if I real quick give you my sports flex?
Yeah, I would love it.
This is not so much as a flex as just a great story. But back in the 60s, during the peak of Muhammad Ali, the top player in the NFL and arguably the greatest running back of all time was Jim Brown. Jim Brown made it be known that he very seriously wanted to box Muhammad Ali. He thought he could legitimately beat Muhammad Ali because he was such a great athlete. Remember, he was like an epic lacrosse player in addition to being a running back. So the two of them happened to be in London at the same time, and Ali tells him to meet him in Hyde Park, which is a famous park in London. So there they are, Ali and Jim Brown, just the two of them, face to face, no handlers, no nothing. And before Jim Brown says anything, Ali starts lightly slapping him, just slapping him like this.
Yeah.
And Ali's hands were so lightning fast that Jim Brown realized right then and there, yeah, there's no way I could ever.
That's a great story.
He
really
saw
great
the
story.
flex up close with literally the greatest of all time.
Professional wrestling fans, the action continues every week. TNA Thursday Night Impact every week. Don't miss the adrenaline, the drama, and the total nonstop action as you watch your favorite TNA wrestling stars. For showtimes and more information, visit TNAWrestling.com.
And coming up on Saturday, Flynn Clayman and the High Points. What are they? Panthers?
Lance? Yeah, they are the Panthers.
Yes, the High Point Panthers will take on likely the Arkansas Razorbacks. And head coach Flynn Clayman's got a message for all of you. He does. Flint, yes. Play the sound, Sam. Play the
It looks
sound.
pretty
There we
obvious to
go.
me that high majors need to play mid-majors during the season because they said we didn't play nobody. We played somebody
Sam
now.
is drunk on wings.
Feels unreal because I know how good of a team we had, but nobody would play us, just like they wouldn't play Miami, Ohio. But they got to play us in this tournament.
Coach, you were down by 10 early on. What changed?
We just settled in. We settled in. We got a hell of a team. We settled in.
Okay. I think
So good.
The we just settled in is another one. I thought maybe it was Derek Carr. I thought that's who Flynn Clayman sounded like when Derek Carr would like try to get a deeper voice and then maybe it would turn southern. What do we got?
Everybody, let's go, Book. Let's go. You're going to get everything out of me. I tell you every time. Get all of it from me, all right? Give me everything you got and let's see what happens. 1 on 3, 1, 2, 3. Why that ain't something?
And then when you would hear Derek Carr do his podcast that he does, he just sounds completely normal.
Bob Costas, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounded very much like I'm trying to relate to a locker room full of guys that make way less money than me.
Oh, but good for Flynn Clayman, right? This is the opportunity to do so. Like when Bryce Harper hit the home run for the U.S. to tie the World Baseball Classic, it actually didn't matter at that point if they won or lost. That was Bryce Harper's moment, and his moment to shine and to show off and to hot dog and do what he wanted to do because it was the bottom of the 8th inning. And so him pointing at the flag and doing what he was doing around the bases, there was no way of losing. So even if High Point ends up losing to Arkansas coming up on Saturday, High Point won. Like they've already won because they've won a game in the tournament.
And I think he and Travis Steele are clearly using this stage to play to call out the high majors for being afraid to play them. I think there is absolutely something to that. And it's a conversation you and I had last week when the bracket came out is for people who don't follow this, these mid-major teams can't get games, and it's because obviously with the net ranking is the analytic that we use to judge teams and grade teams and whatever. And these high major teams just sit there and say, we can take 12, 13, 14 losses and it doesn't impact us. We could still get into the tournament. So why would we schedule one with a High Point or a Miami of Ohio or whatever?
I think, was it Frank Martin of
Yeah,
UMass?
it was a great.
Who was with Jason Whitlock, I believe,
Yep.
and just said, like, I was in the room when they developed the net because
So-
they needed power conferences to have more of an advantage. And was he at South Carolina at the time?
Can I nerd out on the net for half a second? I know you say that this is the time to do it. The net part of the net ranking is margin of victory. And so, and you know, sick plug, I know I had Travis Steele on my podcast a few weeks ago and we talked about this. He said, if you're a high major, you want to schedule quad 1 and quad 4 games. You want to schedule quad 1s because obviously they look good on a resume, and you want to schedule quad 4s because it's not only wins, but you're getting the biggest margin of victory possible. What you don't want to do is schedule a High Point or Miami of Ohio that on paper doesn't look like it's going to be a quote-unquote great win, but they're still good enough to beat you. Even if they don't beat you, it's going to be a dogfight. And that is how we get a situation where a 30-4 High Point coming into Selection Sunday would not have gotten into the NCAA tournament without winning their conference tournament. And Miami of Ohio, of course, as well, does get in at 31-1 overall.
Well, tip of the cap to High Point because Wisconsin had opportunities to win that game. And, in fact, High Point came back late with a couple of big buckets and then got the defensive stop that they needed. Their go-ahead bucket ended up being on a breakaway.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. Kid's first 2-point field goal all season long. Seriously, did you see this?
No.
It was the dude, Chase Brown, I think, who was hitting all those three-pointers. It was his first 2-point field goal all season long. I'm not being sarcastic when I say this.
I knew it was the 99 that he was the shooter, but I didn't realize that he didn't have a 2-point field goal.
Chase Johnston, he finished today's game with 14 points. Obviously, let's see here. Let's take a quick look. I just want to look at the season stats.
By the way, not a lot of 99s. I had
No.
my number ran yesterday again with Monty, branching off of what we had talked about a couple of weeks ago with his single-digit uniform numbers. When I saw 99, I was like, all right, I'm game.
So he finished 4 of 6 from 3, 5 of 7 from the field. Let's take a quick look at his.
That's 1 of 1.
Yes,
from the 2-point field goal range.
So let's see here. He took 132 three-pointers this year, 0 2-pointers coming in. I don't know. Yeah, he didn't attempt a single 2-pointer until that shot, which ultimately won the game.
Know your role. That's all you ask for the players, is to know your role.
Hit the biggest shot in school history. That was his role. He was unbelievable down. He hit about 3 threes that were like fall away, catch and shoot. It was pretty awesome.
Jason Stewart's our executive producer.
Just watching Arkansas celebrate their win today. Now, you guys are in the weeds in this. You already know this. I didn't. And maybe the listeners will relate to me. DJ Wagner is on the Razorbacks. I said to Sam in the break, I said, is that the son of DeJuan Wagner, who is the grandson of Wilt Wagner? I have been in this game so long, guys. I remember pretty distinctly DeJuan Wagner and all the controversy at Memphis with Cal and bringing Milt in. His son is a major player in college basketball. News to me. Sorry.
Isn't that crazy, by the way? Oh, it was controversial to hire a recruit's dad. Like, that's how far we've come in college sports of it used to be you hire the dad to get the kid, and it was Jay Stu remembers 25 years later how big of a controversy it was at a time. Now it's like, oh, we're just going to give this kid $2 million, and we're not even going to worry about it.
And by the way, DJ Wagner, who you talk about, is in college 2 years longer than probably anybody thought when he was coming out of high school, because he was at Kentucky and was one of the top recruits, and that was supposed to be the class to bring Kentucky back to relevance, and then they fell flat, and then Cal left, and then they just followed him to Arkansas.
Yeah, there was a 3-star kid out of Kentucky on that team that nobody thought much of. It was Reed Shepherd, who's doing pretty well, I think, in the NBA.
He's Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. Jason Stewart's here, as is Iowa Sam, and Isaac Lowenkron, who's at the news desk. And after Isaac gives us the latest, we'll tell you about the return of one Barry Bonds. What's going on, Isaac?
Dan and Aaron, 2 more NCAA tournament games just went final. 4-seed Arkansas eliminated 13-seed Hawaii 97-78, and 3-seed Michigan. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do, guys. How about this? In reporting the Michigan State-North Dakota State result, I'm going to do it as a Magic Johnson tweet. Magic Johnson, of course, the former Michigan State Spartan.
Yes.
All right. My 3-seed Michigan State Spartans defeated 14-seed North Dakota State 92-67. My man, Carson Cooper, led the Spartans with 20 points and 10 rebounds. North Dakota State's mascot is a bison. I had bison short ribs for dinner once. They were delicious. Again, that a presumed upcoming Magic Johnson tweet as his Michigan State Spartans advance over North Dakota State. Your next success can begin sooner than you think. Put your goals within reach at University of Maryland Global Campus, an accredited state university. Undergraduate and most graduate classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Earlier, 1-seed Duke rallied from 13 down with 17-11 remaining to beat 16-seed Siena 71-65. Chase Johnson's layup with 11 seconds remaining gave 12-seed High Point an 83-82 upset win over 5-seed Wisconsin 83-82. Here was Wisconsin head coach Greg Gard after the game.
Today sucks.
And in case you missed that,
today sucks.
Quite a contrast between the head coaches of that game. Xavier Edmonds' basket with 4 seconds remaining lifted 9-seed TCU to a 66-64 victory over 8-seed Ohio State. 5-seed Vanderbilt defeated 12-seed McNeese 78-68. 4-seed Nebraska won its first ever NCAA tournament game, trouncing 13-seed Troy 76-47. 6-seed Louisville held off 11-seed South Florida 83-79.
Today sucks.
No, it doesn't, except for him. Dan and Aaron, back to you.
Thank you very much. I will say this, and I'm glad that Isaac played that. When I worked in Madison, I did the Wisconsin basketball pre- and post-game show. I know you know this, but Greg Gard was my frequent guest on my post-game show. So I always have a soft spot in my heart for Greg Gard, who was always wonderful to talk to after the games. Rob Jeter was an assistant to Bo Ryan at that time. Gary Close, who was an assistant at Iowa under Dr. Tom. He was an assistant at Wisconsin. He would come on. But I would talk with Greg the most, so I always pull for Greg. And I agree, Greg. Right now, today sucks, especially if you're a Wisconsin Badger.
You weren't there during the infamous Stan Van era in Wisconsin, were you?
No, I was in high school. That was the year.
One season, right?
Yes, that is correct. The one and done after Stu Jackson ended up, and then Dick Bennett ended up taking over from that point. But Dick Bennett's first year was my first year in college. He's Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. It is Covino and Rich here on Fox Sports Radio. We switch gears because Barry Bonds is back in baseball. Netflix is going to have Bonds be a part of the broadcast for their Wednesday night opening game, Yankees and Giants. It'll open the MLB season on Wednesday. Yes, not a week. We're less than a week away from the start of the Major League Baseball season. Opening day officially 1 week from today, but the opening night game between the Giants and Yankees is on Wednesday. Barry Bonds going to be a part of the broadcast. Barry Bonds has been back in baseball. He was a hitting coach at one point, but now I think in a situation where Alex Rodriguez has opened the doors for so many, Barry Bonds being welcomed back with open arms to be a part of the broadcast for the Netflix crew that's taking over a portion of the MLB TV package.
Yeah, so I know it's a little bit different, but when Alex Rodriguez has become probably the most prominent baseball media member, it's hard for me to have any sort of feel on this one way or another. Now, A-Rod always tried to be liked. I think Barry Bonds not only did not care if he was liked, I think sometimes he actively did not mind being despised. So I do think it's that classic, you treated the media like crap, now it's time for you to collect a check and you become part of the media. I don't know that I have anything major to take away from this other than that it is an interesting name, and I will say this, I don't expect groundbreaking insight.
So the biggest punishment for the guys like A-Rod and Barry Bonds and now the late Pete Rose is they're not going to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Now Pete could get in because he's dead, so his lifetime ban ended, but he's not going to be around for us to know it. That's the biggest deterrent, at least penalty that keeps on going. I think two things. I think that there are very few people who still have the energy, and it's not everyone. I do think that there's a portion of the fan base that does have the energy to always hate Barry Bonds, to always not like Alex Rodriguez because of what they did or were perceived to do. But there's also a portion of it that just doesn't have the energy to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
And so now the TV networks are saying, hey, let's take advantage of this. Let's bring in Barry Bonds. And instead of him being a pariah or Alex Rodriguez, they're almost celebrated. And to me, it's too – you talk about the energy to fight it. It's a battle that you're not going to win.
Yeah.
So you might as well just accept it how it is. But I just think that the only thing that really is now the deterrent from what they did in the past is to not have the Hall of Fame. Everything else is just kind of off the board, and I don't know if anybody else is going to gatekeep to keep those players out of something like television. And as I said, I think A-Rod completely opened the door. A-Rod's now a co-owner of an NBA team.
Yep.
So what else can you do? I think you're fighting a losing battle if you think you can continually punish these players who are caught up in the steroid era.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I would add is it does feel a little weird, the idea of holding this against them from now until the end of time as far as celebrating them as a player, but then also totally celebrating them as some sort of analyst that we need to listen to. That, to me, is more of a baseball thing. From the baseball perspective, I think we as media companies need to put on the best, most entertaining product that people want to listen to. I think A-Rod fits that bill. I think Michael Jordan with the NBA stuff fits that bill. So our job is to put on the most entertaining people that we can. I guess it's more of a baseball issue at that point, but I guess it is a little weird that, again, we celebrate these guys on social media, on TV, viral clips, whatever, and then it's like, the doors to Cooperstown are shut to them.
Jason Stewart?
I mean, I'm in that camp of people that just can't let this go. But I will say this, and real fast.
But just on that,
sure.
You think, am I wrong saying that there's just a small portion of people that will never, ever forgive or let go? Am I
correct?
Okay.
And I'm in that group. Unfortunately. And, last year when the Giants announced that he's going to get a statue, that offended my sensibilities, probably more than most. But I will say this about Netflix in this particular hire. If you're going to hire Barry Bonds, that means that they agreed to ahead of time, Barry not having to answer any questions about it or never being asked about it or talking about it. And to me, that kind of rubs me wrong with as far as Netflix's credibility and bringing him on. It's almost like one of those things that if you hire Barry Bonds, let's get something out of it and maybe have him on camera actually denying something that he's never really been asked or even talked about. It's like he's been skating for 20 years on this whole thing. It's just strange to put him on camera and act like nothing ever happened.
If I could say something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, and that is interesting, that the skate by part, because A-Rod did come out eventually and was like, he did the whole rehab tour, whatever. It is kind of interesting that he's never really acknowledged it, and now we're just not going to talk about it with Barry Bonds. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, A-Rod was suspended twice.
Yes. The second time was,
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for him to talk about it. Bonds never had to deal with any of that, even though we know what happened. To Jason's point, if Netflix were to ask him about it, I think it would grab headlines, but I also think that you would hear a bunch of people that would be like, all right, let's just let it go. Let's just move on. It happened 20 years ago. I also think that Bonds' penalty is that we don't remember his numbers like we remember Babe Ruth's, Hank Aaron's, Roger Maris's, those sort of numbers.
Yeah, and I think his penalty, too, is has anyone besides the Giants, like he has not been a celebrated person relative to both his accomplishments and his talent.
Yeah. I don't know if he wanted to be in the spotlight, but I think for as much as them people ignored him, I think he wanted to be in the spotlight playing baseball, but I don't think he ever wanted to. He was never great with the press, and I think that's an understatement. But I think that he does want to get recognized, and maybe this is his way of doing it, and it'll make him feel better if people just end up moving on. I will say I did see, when they would have those Greg Maddux, and I'm not sure exactly who did it, but hearing Maddux and Bonds talk about facing each other,
yeah, those
very
are so
Compelling.
Cool.
Like it is, like as much as you may want to hate it, it's a very compelling conversation. And so what he has to say, if he can do it in a, and by the way, A-Rod was pretty good on TV. Like he's pretty good. So it makes you want to hear more of what he has to say. If Bonds is pretty good, that'll open up more doors. He's Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. It's day one of the first round of the NCAA tournament. I know we had the first four Tuesday and Wednesday that provided some fun and drama, but this is where it gets down to the nitty-gritty, the highs and lows, the high points and low points of day one, coming up next here on Covino and Rich on Fox Sports Radio. Have you ever wiped with a piece of dry single-ply toilet paper and wondered, is this as good as it gets? Well, it's not. It gets a lot better thanks to the wet extra large cleaning power of Dude Wipes. And when we say extra large, we mean business. So no matter the size of your mess, from top to bottom, Dudes has you covered for a confident clean. They comfortably clean up whatever TP leaves behind for no more maintenance wipes. Deep debris? No way. Irritation? Not a chance. It's time to make the trade of the season and switch from TP to wet, extra-large Dude Wipes and start experiencing the confidence of clean. Of Dude Wipes made from 100% plant-based natural fibers, coming in a variety of scents and sensations like mint chill and shea shea butter to protect your end zone. Join the movement for cleaner movements and live a skid-free life. Available at Amazon and at major retailers nationwide. Dude Wipes. Best clean, pants down.
Aaron Judge has taken some heat, and I think there's no better way to tell me that you just dislike, that you hate Aaron Judge without telling me you hate Aaron Judge. Because he was asked about the excitement in the WBC compared to the World Series. He was asked about the fans. Now, keep in mind, this is about the fans.
Okay.
And Aaron Judge tells his truth comparing the WBC to the World Series. Here's what he said.
All rise.
Bigger and better than the series. It's just, like I said, the passion that these fans have representing their country, representing some of their favorite players. There's nothing like it. And that's what you dream of as a kid. I was betting my backyard, playing wiffle ball.
Wow.
This is the moments you dream of, big spots, big situations, and it gives me chills right now thinking about how special that was.
Now,
Bigger and better than the World Series. Quote.
that's the quote.
Aaron Judge.
And everyone's like, oh, are you serious? Bigger and better than the World Series? I don't know. Have you seen all the corporate a-holes that sit there watching the World Series for the overly priced World Series tickets that you can't afford compared to the excitement level of the WBC and these fans out there cheering for their nation's pride? You don't see the difference? If you can't see the difference and understand what Aaron Judge is talking about, then you and I are not the same cat. You expect Judge to lie in that moment, and you just clearly hate Aaron Judge because everything he said there was truthful. It does feel bigger and better than World Series because the fans are going crazy. They got cowbells and full-on percussion sections in each game. Like, it's exciting. The excitement level's not the same. He's not saying that winning this is or means more. He's saying the experience feels bigger and better because of the fans, because of the nation's pride on the line. We grew up with a mentality, and you see it in the MLB. It's the USA MLB mentality, and it's act like you've been there before. Act like you've been there before. But now I think we're all realizing that it's much cooler to act like you may never get to do that again. And other nations are playing with a different mindset, or maybe it's a generational difference too, where a lot of these young people are showboating in a fun way, and there's a difference between taunting and celebrating. And I think we're seeing a different level of celebration that the U.S. or baseball in this country from this generation needs to adopt moving forward. You know, like, it's no longer act like you've been there. Act like you've been there is boring. If you're excited about something, then show your excitement, because that excitement's contagious. And I think that's what Aaron Judge is getting at. Like, yeah, what I'm seeing here, and this is the absolute truth, what I'm seeing here, and this is my words too, is something we've never seen before. And if you say you have, then I guess you watch a lot of baseball in the DR or in Venezuela, because what we're witnessing now is something we've never seen before. We're seeing a World Cup atmosphere in American baseball. In the World Baseball Classic. We've never seen that level of excitement in baseball before. So Aaron Judge is being a great ambassador of this tournament and telling the truth. End of story. Everyone else saying otherwise doesn't like Aaron Judge, and you guys stink. Period. Take it from me.
All rise.
I'm so committed to this that I've been hitting up other radio hosts from other radio stations being like, yeah, you're a loser because you don't know what you're talking about. You just hate Aaron Judge. It's the truth. Because what he's saying is the truth. You see those boring corporate people that have World Series tickets? They're not even cheering. You see the excitement level? It's not even the final game. These guys are going nuts in the stands. There's a clear difference. And he's pointing that out.
Well,
we've been pointing that out.
Your Yankees are the prime example, though, of like, act like you've been there before.
Yes,
I'm
not a fan of it.
Nothing would be lamer to me than when the Yankees in like the 2000s.
I think there's a medium ground.
Would clinch their division, and they would just do like a lineup of handshakes. When it's like, dude, you just played 162 games.
Things evolve, dude. I think it's time to evolve. That's all. You know, that's how it used to be. You can't pretend like our mentality wasn't act like you've been there before. It was. Just like it was in the NBA, you know, you didn't switch teams because if you can't beat them, join them. Mentalities change.
Yeah.
Speaking of nicknames, maybe none better. As the guys at the in-show chat were saying on YouTube, Black Mamba, Iceman, but Prince. I know this isn't Prince. This is Morris Day in the Time, but Purple Rain, the whole deal. You with me on this, Sam? A verbal yes would be great. Yes, that would be great.
I am with you.
I like Irish Sam more than Iowa Sam, by the way. I've come to that conclusion.
Wait till next week. Then we'll see. We'll see if we really want Irish Sam around. I'm partial to Iowa Sam. But who are you partial to, Iowa Sam?
I'll stick with Iowa Sam.
There you go.
I think Irish Sam should only come out like around St. Patrick's Day. It should be like a special event.
It's Covino and Rich here on Fox Sports Radio. He's Aaron Torres. I'm Dan Beyer. We've been playing the Flynn Clayman sound from High Point after they beat Wisconsin. Sounds completely like he's about to wrestle in a TNA wrestling match. If you missed it, this is him with TBS after the victory.
It looks pretty obvious to me that high majors need to play mid-majors during the season because they said we didn't play nobody. We played somebody now.
How'd you do it?
Feels unreal because I know how good of a team we had, but nobody would play us, just like they wouldn't play Miami, Ohio. But they got to play us in this tournament.
Coach, you were down by 10 early on. What changed?
We just settled in. We settled in. We got a hell of a team. We settled in. California and Texas and New York.
High Point, the winner over the Badgers today, 83-82 as the 12 seed gets the victory over the 5 seed. Speaking of professional wrestling fans, the action continues every week. TNA Thursday Night Impact every week. Don't miss the adrenaline, the drama, and the total nonstop action as you watch your favorite TNA wrestling stars. For showtimes and more information, visit TNAWrestling.com.
Can I say one thing? We crap on all the NCAA for everything that they do. The adding the life size, not the life size, but the huge bracket and letting one player a day stick the winner on the bracket in the locker room, very cool addition to the NCAA tournament.
I agree. That's something that I like, and they've done it to the conference tournaments now. They've added it. It's finally come to me. I know who he is. Nick Saban. Remember when Nick Saban was on the sideline and it was building and it was building and it was building? That's who it was. It took an hour and 52 minutes for me to realize who Flynn Clayman sounded like. I thought it was maybe Derek Carr, but the building and you know how I knew it? Was Joey Molinaro, who does the impression of Nick Saban, which sounded like Flynn Clayman. That's who it was. He was doing... Yeah. Flynn was doing his best Nick Saban impression.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Yes, that's the one.
Yes,
that's the one. Oh, so good. So
gotta have that somewhere.
I thought it was Derek Carr. Ed Orgeron was the in-show chat as well. That was another recommendation for who we were talking about. But we had Bart Scott. We had Mike Gundy. Could have been another one. Howard Dean, as you played. So good stuff here.
I'm more of a Richard Sherman.
Richard
you want to test me with a side receiver like Crabtree?
You like the high pitch. Don't you ever talk about me. Do we have any Saban? Do we have any of
it's
that?
Maria Taylor.
It's with Maria Taylor?
It is, yes.
All right. Do we have it, Sam? Are we tight on time? We'll just vamp for 10 seconds. North Carolina and VCU underway.
Yes.
Well, I thought South Florida could pull up the upset against Louisville. It didn't happen. You and I both like VCU because of North Carolina being maybe shorthanded without Caleb Wilson.
Yeah.
And other issues.
That was when I flipped by the time the bracket came out. I think I was a little hard on North Carolina. They lose by 1 in the ACC tournament. The Duke game was close until Duke went on a crazy run in the second half. So I did pick North Carolina, but I did pick South Florida to beat Louisville in another 6-11. And I actually picked Texas to beat BYU in a 6-11 later today.
Oh, that'll be an interesting one as well. A.J. DeMonta having to take on shouldering a lot of the load for the Cougars. More action tonight. Again, North Carolina and VCU just underway. Odd Couple is next. Aaron and I will be back for CNR tomorrow here on Fox Sports Radio. Talk to you then.